Actually, I lost.
That can't be right! The challenge was rigged! My boy deserves to win!
No, Mom, I didn't. And that's okay.
Yeah, you lost, 'cause you're
Lena! Shh!
Oh my gosh, I missed this show. Welcome back, you DuckTales fanatics, and boy am I glad to be back. It took quite some time for us to continue on after the event of Moonvasion, but here we are. And I'm certain that most of you are tired enough as it is of waiting, so let's not waste any more time. Let's start by giving off the summary of this episode, which is about Huey facing against Violet in a senior woodchuck race, and to be honest, was more entertaining than I anticipated. And lastly was the side plot of the episode, or well, potentially the main component considering its significance for the rest of the season as a whole, but I'll explain later on. Now, the premiere begins with everyone grouped together inside of the Woodchuck Award Ceremony building presenting the top leaders of Woodchuck. And I know that this isn't necessarily the most important thing to mention, but how on earth did Doofus Drake ever manage to achieve all of those badges? Now, this is more than likely due to the animation trickery with the team copying and pasting each person's sash, but he could have also earned these by paying the Woodchuck leaders off. Something that reminds me of Jeremy from Star Vs, showing that though he was absolutely trash at karate, he paid his troubles away, which in the end solved nothing. But even if this isn't all that significant, can we talk about the Boyd robot? It was interesting to see him as well, since in the last episode he was in, he became Doofus's adopted brother, solving both the issue of the parents being Doofus's slaves and Drake having a friend of his own. Perhaps I was wrong. I mean, what if this was just the real Doofus making a change and becoming that goofy and innocent character from before? Plus, let's not forget about the future episode Astro Boyd that clearly should be including Boyd and maybe even show off some Astro Boy similarities. Moving right along, it's mentioned how Donald was kicked out of Woodchuck due to his not so great relationship with nature and bad luck. Soon, the majority of everyone sets out to watch Huey and Violet duke it out since the both of them are revealed to be the two top competitors. And I just love how Webby somehow manages to keep both friendships alive by cheering on for both Huey and Violet at the same time.
You're gonna win this easy. He just needs more encouragement right now.
Webby mainly wants to help Huey at the moment, knowing about just how low his self-esteem can be, especially when the one thing he's mainly known for being good at is now being outdone by someone else.
I prefer to focus my time on the real work of woodchucking.
All around me are familiar.
Now, right before the race, we are shown multiple locations with arrows pointing in different directions, and as you may suspect, these are clues. Of course, there's Duckburg, however, the second is St. Canard, which is a reference to the home of where Darkwing is. And by the way, totally looking forward to a potential Negaduck appearance this season. Garbabble is an ancient Egyptian city ruled by an evil priest Sarkis. Sarkus, I think that's how you say it. Maybe this is from the episode titled The Rumble for Ragnarok, since this is more than likely going to be about ancient gods. I mean, that is assuming if they ever mention it, for example. Monocro is the location that Scrooge mentions to travel to and find a rare heirloom. However, this was within the episode The Last Sun Chaser, which still by far is one of my favorite episodes, and is the same one where the gang never truly make it to their destination.
To our greatest adventure yet! Woo!
But I wonder if we'll ever witness the team finally discovering the supposed rare object anytime soon. It does seem like this season is about a ton of lost treasures. Gumption is the old western town that Scrooge and Goldie both explored to and helped from being robbed, and I wonder what the townsfolk did with all those bits of gold. Pateau Pisco was the place Dewey mentions in his story about how he retrieved his hat in the Sky Pirates episode. Carnivora is something I couldn't really get any leads on except for the fact that it could translate to carnivore, which means flesh-eating mammals. Tokyo-oke could obviously be referencing to Tokyo, but also Frank Angonis himself gave somewhat of a hint March 14th about the mean streets of Tokyo-oke. And notice how coincidentally it seems to be pointed in the same direction as Maka, the same city where Launchpad secretly fights off a bunch of bandits off screen. So maybe, bear with me, maybe we'll finally be able to get some sort of reveal about Launchpad's side of things, cause who else was curious about his secret adventures over the past few times?
Launchpad. Oh, Launchpad.
Oceanica? Is that you, my love?
As the race begins, we have Violet trying to learn smack talk as she goes and undeniably stomps Huey during the entire competition.
Hubert, who is in second place and holding this letter? You are? Best wishes, Violet. What the?
Was that good, Smack?
Do you feel appropriately razzed?
With the both of them having to avoid lightning rain, where they have to use Ficus elastica, aka rubber figs, so that the material's high resistance would help against electricity. Another thing is a bear that soon even later on attempts to attack Scrooge and the rest of them during their own little adventure in literal volcano lava. I don't know how it passed as an actual examination, but yeah. Apparently it did. During the challenges, Huey at times would imagine himself talking to his junior woodchuck journal, which just proves his attachment to it. And one of the lessons that perhaps Huey will learn about in the future is not to depend on something for every situation in replacement of your very own wisdom. Because to be honest, Huey carries that thing out a lot, and that's probably an issue of his that he needs to solve throughout the series. Also, the voice actor for the woodchuck journal that he imagines was voiced by Stephen Root, who was the same one known for performing as Bill from King of the Hill. In the end of the challenges, not only does Violet save Huey from falling, which is something that he himself decided not to do for Violet because he so desperately wanted to prove himself, we learned that there was also a merit badge for failure, and how Violet had to apply 3 times before she was accepted into the Woodchuck Club. This is mighty impressive considering how Huey had never even heard of a failure badge before. And this is probably what he needed to hear, since he's all about perfecting things, but never truly learning that even if you do fail, it's always best to get back up and try again. So not only did Huey learn about loss, but also most of all, you should always assume that there is another person in the world smarter than you, which explained Huey's underestimation of Violet. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, it's time we dwell back into Scrooge and the other side of the story. During Huey's match against Violet, the gang stumble upon Isabella Finch's secret map to her non-explored treasures. Soon they follow the trail leading to the treasure until a mysterious bird follows them around and later even snatched the map so that it could lead them to the right path. Because it's told that the bird was secretly Isabella's mascot, something that apparently even Scrooge had no knowledge of, but yet Huey did. Go figure. Also, I would like to point out how it was also hidden inside of the volcano, which also would explain as to why it was so difficult to get there, so maybe that wasn't a coincidence. Perhaps the whole woodchuck race was a part of her own mystery. Anyways, they finally uncovered the hidden secret of Isabella within the box, which ended up being a journal she used to keep around, marking all of her lost adventures and unattained possessions. Huge examples is the Fountain of Youth and the Harp of Nirvana, which is a literal episode for this season about the gang going underwater for a lost treasure. As for the Fountain of Youth, they mentioned this in the original DuckTales series. However, instead of the fountain reclaiming a person's youth, it would instead show them their youth instead, which was an interesting concept to say the least. Now at the very end of the premiere, it's revealed that Fowl was using a bot to spy on the gang during their adventure, and that reminds me of Dr. Gero from Dragon Ball Z using a bug to analyze every character's movements. And also, would this mean that Donald's fanny pack of all things was just a mere foreshadow of what was to happen later on? But on a serious note, this season premiere is evidently laying out all of what's to come for later on, and personally, I cannot wait. And as for Fowl, it sounds as if they're not only going to be trying to destroy the Duck family, but also get the riches before they do. And well, just like the Woodchuck Challenge, as you can probably tell by now, the race is on, ladies and gentlemen. This has been your lovely host, The Next Big Thing, and I will catch you all in the next one. Peace! Also, I nearly forgot about mentioning Della Duck's sudden appearance within the introduction, so well played, Disney.